Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know I have been MIA for quite some time now, but I have had so much on my plate from studying for the Nclex, taking the Nclex, moving to Texas. There has just been so much going on in my life that I haven't had the time to sit down and make a video. So my last video I think was like 3 weeks ago, maybe like even a month ago. And I feel so bad for making you guys wait for another video, but I was really focusing in on studying for my Nclex and I didn't want to be bothered with anything else, so I stopped making videos at the time. And then I took my Nclex and then I failed my Nclex and then I moved to Texas. So it's just been so much going on. And it took me a really long time to decide to sit down and make a video on failing my Nclex. I didn't know if I really wanted to share this with the world because I was so disgusted in myself and so embarrassed, and I didn't want anyone to know. It took me like almost a month for me to finally feel comfortable with myself again for me to sit and make this video. The Nclex was the worst test I've ever taken in my life. It was the most, I don't even have any words for it. I've never felt so intimidated and so insecure with myself. Sitting at that screen and taking a 265 question exam, when all you can think about is what happens if you fail, what happens if you don't pass, what it's like to be a failure, what are you going to do, was nursing school a waste of time, was it a waste of money, are you really meant to be a nurse? All of these things are going through your head when you should be focused on your test. And it's hard to kind of stay focused when you know that if you keep getting more questions, you're not doing that great. So that's really a challenge when you're taking such a long exam. I sat there taking that exam for 4.5 hours. It was the longest 4.5 hours of my life, and it was terrible. When I left, I knew I failed. I was so depressed. I went home. I cried for like 6 hours straight. I broke things in my apartment. I threw my phone. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I couldn't focus. I couldn't eat, sleep, talk for like a week straight. I was not myself. But if I would be around people, they would be so just sad to see me and be like, oh my God, you're not yourself. And I would literally say to them, like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, I failed my Nclex. And like some people who don't understand how important this exam is would be like, oh, you could just retake it. But yeah, like I'm at that point now. But the day after, it's like to think about having to sit back there for, another 4 hours or however long it might take is just depressing. And it took me so long to get out of that state into a state where I can now sit back and try to study again for this test. I took the Nclex with 2 other people who I graduated the program with, and they both felt like they failed just as much as I felt like I failed, but I knew I failed. Anyways, they got questions that they felt like was so hard that they didn't know the answer to, and I got questions that I felt the same way, in a sense. I also got questions that were familiar to me that I didn't know the answer to because of the material it was on. I didn't study, and the reason why I didn't study it is because I took the Kaplan class. Anyway, so these other type of questions, though, they're critical thinking questions that dissect your understanding on how to analyze. That's it. It's not really on the nursing material as much as it is on critical thinking understanding. And if you are getting those type of questions and you get them right, you pass the Nclex. No problem. But majority of my test was, I got all 265 questions, which means that I was up and down with getting them right and getting them wrong. And if I'm getting them right, I was getting those critical thinking questions. But I was getting so many nursing-based questions like cardio and stuff like that I didn't review, and I was getting those all wrong, which is why I failed the exam. I am going to break this all down for you guys in my next video. I'm going to try to break it down so simple for you guys to have some type of study plan for your Nclex. Failed my Nclex. Was the worst time of my life. I was so depressed. But then I finally came up out of that depression, and I had to make a move. So I literally made a move, and I moved from Chicago to Texas because in Chicago, it was too much going on. It was too many distractions. It was too many reminders of my reality as a failure. I couldn't focus, and it was just too much. So my lease for my apartment was up anyway. So I decided to move to Texas because I had opportunity to come out here and just focus on studying for my Nclex. So I did. So now I am slightly working, but I'm more so studying for my Nclex in a different way than I studied for it the first time. One of the main things that I want to focus on for my next Nclex test is anxiety relaxation techniques, because being at that computer screen and taking a test that is so detrimental to your future really raises your blood pressure, like seriously. And I was never one to struggle with anxiety ever before taking a test or, presenting or anything like that. But with the Nclex, I had such high anxiety, and I was freaking out, and I was praying, and I was crying, and I was doing all of these things while I was taking my test, and I wasn't focused. So I really want to practice on breathing techniques and just relaxation techniques that you can do sitting down. So that's really key. And I'm going to study differently, and I'm going to make a separate video showing you guys how I'm going to study differently. So I really wanted to just touch base with you guys, let you guys know I'm still alive, and that I didn't forget about you guys. But it has just been so hard for me to sit down and make this video because I was so out of touch with myself, and I felt like I let you guys down by failing my Nclex. I thought I was going to come back and tell you guys how I passed my Nclex in 75 questions and yada yada yada, but I failed my Nclex in 265 questions, and I was so embarrassed. But I know that I'm not the first one, and I know that it's not uncommon to not pass on the first try, and I've accepted that. And now I can move on and study differently and give you guys my feedback. So hopefully you guys just learn from my mistakes, and hopefully I can offer you some advice on what not to do to fail your Nclex. From taking the test and from understanding the test and knowing what type of test it is, I know exactly what I did wrong, and now I know how to move forward. So I'm going to share all of that with you guys in my next video. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. Please do not fall off, because I am about to give you guys so much insight, and we're about to study for this retake together. So thank you guys for tuning in. Keep watching and stay tuned.